Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Zeichem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's really nice to be together here at Westchester Reform Temple for our Shabbat service. I'm Rabbi Daniel Reister. This is Cantor Daniel Rodniski, and we're joined in the leadership of this evening service by Pete Malinverni at the piano. I know that for some of us, this might be our first time back in the building in many months, and for those of you for whom that is the case, welcome back. We're so glad to see you inside of our home, even though we've had some chances to see each other outside until now. This Shabbat is a special Shabbat on the Jewish calendar. It's the Shabbat immediately after the day of Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is the saddest day on the Jewish calendar. It's the day when we commemorate the many destructions and tragedies that have befallen the Jewish people throughout our long history. And the Shabbat after that sad day is a Shabbat called Shabbat Nachamu, which is a thing that translates to mean the Shabbat of comfort. After this really sad day that we've all experienced in Jewish time just a few days ago, today on Shabbat we experience comfort. If we were to try and translate Shabbat Nachamu into a practical idiom, we might say that this is a Shabbat that's all about catharsis. Having been through something that's really painful, and we've all been through something in recent past, whether it's collectively or each of us in our own lives, that is really painful. Sometimes on the other side of that pain, we can feel a little bit of comfort, a little bit of catharsis. That's what we've come together to do tonight, is to try and exhale some of all that's been pent up inside of us, whether it's over the past week or over the past 17 at this point months. I hope we can all experience Shabbat Nachamu, the Shabbat of comfort, the Shabbat of catharsis together. To help us welcome Shabbat, we're going to light not the Olympic torch, but other flames that will mark this day. And to help us do so, we'd like to invite Gail Loeb, Jeff Simon, and their grandson Max to come forward and help us kindle these lights. We'll continue together in our prayer books with songs to help us welcome Shabbat. Let's turn together first to page 131, Shir Chadash.
God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai, Kol Haaretz. Shiru Adonai, Sing unto God. Sing unto God, all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai. We will sing unto God a new song.
Page 138.
Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad ki hishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shmo Tiferet velitila lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lechu Ki hi mekor haveracha במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי בעורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה.
We remain standing as we turn to page 146.
תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, כי הם חיינו לאורך ימינו, ולהם נגה יומם ולילה. Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
We may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We'll continue with our people's Song of Freedom, page 158, Micha Mocha.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Shabbat Nachamu is not just a time for feeling comfort. It's not just a time for the catharsis of breathing out, because sometimes when we breathe out, we might find that we have a little bit of lingering fear, a little bit of trauma from the struggle we've just been through. But we can't live in trauma. We can't live only in a place of fear. We have to move on to Shabbat Nachamu. We have to feel some sense of catharsis, even though it means maybe being vulnerable to going through struggles again. And that's why we pray the words, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom, help us, O God, to lie down in peace, knowing that lying down is at once a position of vulnerability and also a position of rest. Help us to be in both these stages at the same time. As evening begins to settle, let us feel some sense of catharsis and also feel ourselves not vulnerable, but at rest.
Adonai, Sefatai tiftach, Ufi yagid, Tehilatecha, Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, V'zocher chastei avot ve'imahot, U'mevii geula livnei v'neihem, Le'ma'an shemo be'ahava, Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah rav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We'll invite you now to take a few moments for private prayer, a few moments for stillness and for quiet. You might look for inspiration in our book or spend this time quietly finding inspiration in your own heart. You may either remain standing or be seated. One of the great joys of summer Shabbat services at WRT is the chance to hear a Shabbat message not only from the clergy team, but also from a member of the congregation. And while the congregation has the pleasure of hearing the message up here on the bima, we, the clergy team, have the added pleasure of getting to work with the person who's delivering that message in the weeks that lead up to it. And so this week we're in for a treat, not only with the message you're going to hear, but also a treat for me to have got to see this message sort of come to life and to work with the congregant who's delivering it. This evening, our guest darshan, our guest preacher, is Adam Mayer. Adam and his wife Stacy and daughters Samara, who's 8 and going into 3rd grade, and Sienna, who's 5, have been members of WRT since 2015. Adam currently serves on the Jewish Learning Lab Director Search Committee and helps Stacy to co-organize our now annual Vodka and Latkes Hanukkah fundraiser. Stacy is also a member of the WRT Connections Task Force. Adam is a business executive with 20 years of experience in media and technology industries, and until recently, he was Senior Vice President of Marketing at WWE, the professional wrestling organization, and where he ran their streaming video business. And Adam wanted me to make sure you knew that while he is not himself actually a professional wrestler at WWE, his secret ambition was to perform under the moniker The Flying Jew. So let us please now welcome the Flying Jew to our bima to help greet us with some words for Shabbat.
Hope you all have that nice 80s nostalgia coming back to you. So hi, everyone. When Rabbi Blake first asked me to offer today's Devar Torah, a sense of panic overcame me. I immediately flashed back to my childhood, driving home from high holiday services with my family while discussing the sermon we just heard from the rabbi. You see, the sermon was always the most meaningful part of the service to us. And since we rarely attended services other than on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, there were really only 2 sermons we heard each year. In other words, in those car rides, we would assess the value of our annual membership to Shul based almost exclusively on 2 15-minute speeches. So if you do the math, those were some very expensive words. And by the way, regardless of how insightful or engrossing the sermon was, if it didn't mention the geopolitical situation in Israel, it was a disappointment. So needless to say, I am quite nervous to be up here today. Now, to be clear, I am not a rabbi, and this is not a high holiday service. So please don't make any decisions on whether to renew your membership to WRT based on the next 10 minutes. But at the very least, I hope to give you all something to think about on your rides home. And if you're lucky, maybe I'll mention Israel. In this week's Torah portion, Va'et Hanan, Moses emphasizes the importance of keeping the 10 Commandments to the Israelites. And as I reread each of the commandments, I began thinking, how hard are these rules actually to follow? After all, these are the sacred laws of the Jewish people. And I wanted to know if I was as much of a nice Jewish boy as my grandmother always told me I was. To my great relief, as I read through them, I was actually in pretty good shape. Don't kill, check. Don't steal, check. Don't commit adultery, check. Honor my parents, check. Well, most of the time. In fact, what I realized was that the 10 Commandments seemed to be about choices. You could pretty much follow them by choosing certain actions and or beliefs. Don't lie, worship God and not idols, remember the Sabbath day. So again, I'm feeling pretty good about all this. I can choose to follow the 10 Commandments. But then I hit commandment number 10, thou shalt not covet. Dang. How can I choose not to covet? After all, to me, coveting, more commonly known as envy, is not really an action or a choice, but rather it's a feeling or an emotion. And it's one I've wrestled with throughout my life. Growing up, I often envied other kids' popularity, athletic prowess, or physical appearance. And as an adult, I still deal with envy, admittedly, often over more petty items like others' wealth or professional success. Now, to be clear, I have a very blessed life with good health, a wonderful family, amazing friends, and financial comfort. But that is the corrosive nature of envy. It can blind us to what is good in our own lives. And instead of appreciating what we have, we instead focus on what we seemingly lack compared to others. Now, I can only speak with authority around my own feelings and experience with envy. But it seems like envy is a prevalent emotion in many people's lives. In fact, several of the best-known Bible stories are based on envy. Cain murdered Abel because he was envious that God favored Abel's offerings over his own. Jacob was jealous of Esau's firstborn rights, so he tricked his father Isaac into giving Jacob his blessing. And for all the Andrew Lloyd Webber fans out there, you know how Joseph's brothers felt about his colorful wardrobe. So clearly, God was aware of the danger of envy when God delivered the Ten Commandments to Moses and the Jewish people. In fact, maybe God knew this would be one of the most challenging commandments for the average person to follow, and that's why it's the last one, so we wouldn't forget it. Yet, thousands of years later, I think many of us continue to struggle with envy. And adding fuel to the fire, we now have social media to deal with. By just glancing at our phones, we are inundated with all the accomplishments of almost any person we've ever met. Do I really need to know that the kid who sat behind me in second grade just bought a fabulous new car? I'm sure many of you have read about the numerous studies showing how browsing our Facebook feed can lead to deep feelings of envy and depression, as it appears that everyone's life is better than yours. Better vacations, better jobs, better looking kids. If social media existed in the time of Moses, I can picture Joshua posting a photo on Instagram of his best homemade matzah, and Aaron thinking, ooh, that Joshua, his life is just so perfect. In fact, if Facebook existed back then, perhaps God would have skipped the Ten Commandments, thinking, nah, that's just asking a little too much of them. And to get a bit meta, there was a New York Times article earlier this month discussing church leaders who were caught plagiarizing other pastors' sermons. Labeled Sermongate, this scandal revealed a certain amount of competition among the clergy to deliver the most insightful and powerful sermons. So even religious leaders are not immune to feelings of envy. By the way, Rabbi Reeser, Cantor Rodnitsky, if either of you would like to use anything from this Devar Torah in your future sermons, feel free. But please do not cite me. In fact, in my opinion, envy plays a role in many geopolitical issues that the world is facing today, including the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Told you I'd throw Israel in. I know this is a very complicated topic with a long history and many factors at play, but I have to believe that part of what drives Palestinian anger toward Israel is their envy of Israel's success, whether economically, politically, militarily, scientifically, or culturally. So, if envy is so bad, why does it seem to be a natural part of human behavior? Could there be some evolutionary benefits to envy? Did envy help cavemen survive as they competed to make the biggest fire or sketch the nicest cave drawings? Today, is envy part of what drives us to succeed as we compete with other people's accomplishments? Maybe. And if you think about it this way, perhaps some level of envy is good, both for the individual and society. But even if this is true, it is clear that too much envy is dangerous and self-destructive. So what do we do? I would be naive and arrogant, and a very successful therapist, if I claimed to know how to eliminate such an innate emotion as envy. However, I can think of a few things to perhaps lessen it within ourselves. First, we should remember that things aren't as always pretty as they appear. For every perfect picture on Facebook, There were about 20 other ones where eyes were closed, kids were crying, or a finger was blocking the lens. We all try to present our best version of ourselves to the outside world, but we all struggle at times, and we all have challenges in life. In fact, the unseen difficulties of others could very well be more challenging than our own. As author Regina Brett once said, if we all threw our problems in a pile and saw everyone else's, we'd grab ours back. This is not to say we should be happy that others are dealing with issues. On the contrary, it is our responsibility to help friends, family, and even strangers in need. My point is that the next time we feel envious towards someone, we should remind ourselves that he or she is facing struggles just like we are, even if we can't see them. In fact, maybe we should all challenge ourselves to be a bit more real. We often fear to share our vulnerabilities to others, sometimes even to our close friends and family. But maybe, if we were all more willing to be honest with each other about our struggles, our doubts, our insecurities, we could all connect a bit more and not always feel so competitive with or envious of each other. You may all heard of an internet trend, Throwback Thursday, where people would post nostalgia-inducing pictures of themselves on social media. I would today like to propose a new hashtag, Real World Wednesday, where we can only post pictures that show what our real lives look like. Maybe it's a picture right when you wake up before you brush your hair, or a photo of your kid's daily meltdown, or in our case, 2 daily meltdowns, or of that cake where you forgot to add the yeast. I'm looking at you, Stacy. My point is by letting our guards down and presenting more of our true selves to others, perhaps this widespread culture of envy could be diminished. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is advice that we hear time and time again. Be thankful for what is good in our lives, or as my wife likes to say, maintain an attitude of gratitude. Yes, we have problems. Yes, some of our friends may have bigger houses, better hair, or stronger tennis backgrounds. I especially struggle with that last one. But we should remind ourselves every day of all the wonderful things in our lives, whether big or small. Spend more time focusing inwardly on what is positive, and we may stop comparing ourselves so much outwardly. With that advice in mind, I'll end my Devar Torah today with a line from Pirkei Avot, a collection of Jewish rabbinical teachings. Who is rich? I am, because I am grateful for what I have. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Adam. And if you think you would want to be someone who delivers a Devar Torah here from our Bima in a summer to come, please do reach out to us. We'd love, love, love to have more congregant voices heard up here on the Bima. It's really a pleasure. Adam just spoke a moment ago about the unseen pain of others. And we've reached a moment in our service now where we help to take what's unseen pain and help make it seen. That, after all, is what a synagogue community strives to do, to allow us to bring our whole selves into every space. And so as we prepare to offer our Misha Berach prayer for healing, I'd ask that if there are any people that you're praying for this Shabbat, and if you'd like to share their name out loud, that you could please rise in your seat and say that person's name. In addition to these names, we as a WRT community are praying this Shabbat for healing for Andrew, for Eliyahu Mecha Ben Sarah, Joan Tucker, Jeff Rothberg, Robert Zagoria, Tony DeLappa, Gina DeLappa, Naomi Bat Mosheva Esther, Mark Sosnowitz, Matthew Atwood, Stephen Bleckman, Gloria Byron, Anthony and Elizabeth Danker, Mordechai Ben Yaakov,
Georgette Nussbaum, Deborah Kapnick, Nicole Shusey, Neil Glaskell, Leah Greenspan, Andrea Reiner, Chaim Ben Sipora, Masha Batsora, Aviva Tzila Bat Esther Bela, Jeffrey Millman, Ken Master, Mary Deutsch, Chava Batsara, Eliyahu Chaim Ben Fradel, Sheila Fried, Malka Tzipora Bas Rachel, Tamar Bat Malka, Heschel Meir Ben Davida Chana, Shai Aviad Ben Balfora, Howard Cowan, Rosa Aurora Ramirez Vera, and other names that we carry with us in our hearts. Our prayer for healing is on page 371. Our concluding prayers begin on page 586. Would the congregation please rise?
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Page 593. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled. It burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance, and our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We are no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death,
of light, and of life. As we prepare to offer the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, I would invite mourners in our congregation to rise in a particular order. If you have laid a loved one to rest within the past 7 days, would you please rise and be acknowledged? If you're within the first 30 days of mourning, would you now rise? If you have lost your loved one within the past year, would you now rise? And if this Shabbat marks the yahrzeit, the anniversary of your loved one's death, would you please rise? I'd ask the congregation to rise as one in support of the mourners among us as we remember. We remember first those most recently taken from us: Ruth Price, mother of Ellen Rosenberg; Irving Scharf, father of Andrew Scharf and Susan Scharf; Marvin Lipton, father of Denise Rothberg; Joseph Lewin, husband of Connie Lewin and father of Deborah Lewin, Weiner, and Jack Lewin; Phyllis Josselson, sister of Bennett Josselson; Phyllis Perla, wife of Stanley Perla, mother of Jason Perla and Brian Perla, and sister of Sheila Farber. And on the anniversary of their death, we remember Emily Bauer, Reva Blatt, Frida Bossis, Paul Brichta, Harry Burns, Samuel Dodick, Dorothy Dolans, Rebecca Cohn Edelstein, Arthur Epps, Herbert Falk, Claire Feldman, Isaac Fields, Otto Forsheimer, Mildred G. Frankel, Paul Gendel, William German, Barbara Goodman, Marion Granowitz, Marilyn Greenberg, Esther Gruber, Fred Haber, Joseph C. Harris, Benjamin Hoffman, Morton Holliday, Lillian Kaufman, Suzanne Kay, Sylvia Kelton, Carol Kerner, David Kessner, Molly Krantz, Theodore Morse, Elizaveta Lokshina, Eddie Nobby, Charles Needleman, Saul Newman, Sylvia Pankin, Arthur Rosenthal, Florence Rosenthal, Henry Rothenberg, Jim Rothenberg, Harry Seides, Libby Seides, Fred Rudin, Ira Shapiro, Diane Silk, Florence Simberkoff, Harold Sklar, Mitchell Slater, Beatrice Smiley, Elizabeth Herman Smith, Lawrence Solomon, Francis Spivak, Irving Spivak, Burton Strauss, David Wise, Sylvia Young, Isidore Zuta, and other names that we carry with us in our hearts. If there are any names to add to our commemoration that have not yet been said aloud, or any that I've inadvertently mispronounced, I invite you to say them now. The words of the Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala ubizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar v'yit ale v'yit halal shemei d'kudsha barichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
We may be seated. A few brief announcements before we conclude. Our celebration of Shabbat doesn't end tonight, but continues into tomorrow with our weekly Torah study group beginning at 9 a.m. and continuing through 11 a.m. That group meets online, and check our e-communications to find the link.
Also upcoming, well, this isn't upcoming, but it's important nonetheless. If you have not yet reserved or told us what time you would like to join us for High Holy Days, please do so. The form for letting us know which service and which location you'd like to be at is live, and we are eager to hear from you to make sure that you can be placed in the right service at the right time, in the right location, with the COVID restrictions that most feel comfortable to you. So please let our office know where and how you'd like to celebrate High Holy Days with us this September. They're coming really soon. We are sure of that, and I know you will be too when they arrive. Also, we're really looking forward to our summer stage concert on August the 5th. That's a Thursday at 7:30 p.m. at Kol Ami. It'll be a celebration of Bob Dylan. We hope you'll join us there on Thursday, August 5th at 7:30. And finally, our Cooking for Hope group is currently running a school supply drive. We really hope that you'll purchase a backpack or a set of backpacks filled with school supplies and send them to our dedicated volunteer, Yoel Magid. His address is in our e-communications. Help make sure that children in Westchester County have the things they need to succeed in school after a really hard year. We all need what we need to succeed in this coming year. We hope you'll participate in that drive. You look like you want to add something to our announcements. Please do.
Not only is today Shabbat Nachamu, the Shabbat of comfort, but I believe it is also Tu B'Av, which is the day of love, sort of like the Valentine's Day of the Jewish calendar. And so, are you finished with announcements?
Well, I was just going to say thank you to our greeter, Steve
yes,
Maskett.
Please.
But other than that, whom we love, so that's
Who
an
we love,
appropriate...
exactly. Yeah. So may we find comfort from the people that we love who might be here with us or we might be thinking of, and may that help us find the gratitude that Adam so beautifully spoke about. And let us sing this nigun together to bring in the love and the comfort and the gratitude.
Why don't we all stand up? That sounds nice. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.